you do a quick fire with me here, Frank?
Yeah, please, let's go.
Yeah. So I've got 5 questions for you. First one is, name a couple of healthcare brands that you think do marketing really well.
I got to give credit to Mayo Clinic. Their commercials, like, talk about bold. Their tagline is "You know where to go." Like, yep,
Yeah.
that is just owning it. That they are the number one hospital on earth, and if you're really sick, you know where to go. So I think that is like my absolute favorite. Second one, I think National Marrow Donor Program, Be the Match, has done a really good job over the years, both in very tactical marketing in as they've worked to build a more diverse registry, but then also in having the boldness a number of years ago to say there are these new therapies being developed that if they're successful could eliminate the need for National Marrow Donor Program to exist. And instead of shying away from it, they leaned into it and said, how can we make that happen faster? Because that's why we exist. It's not to exist, it's to help these patients. So
Yes.
those are two, I think,
Yes.
doing it really well.
Great examples. Frank, what's a career highlight for you in your 20 years at Medical Alley? What stands out?
You know, there's a bunch of things that I love, but probably the one that most stands out is about probably it was 2010. We passed legislation for an angel investor tax credit, an incentive for making investments in startup technology companies. I wrote the legislation. I led the team that lobbied for it. We built a great big coalition, got it passed. And since 2010, just in the healthcare alone, $1.5 billion has been raised by companies who have used it. There have been multiple exits. It has been a fantastic success, and it feels personally satisfying to say, like, hey, we did this thing that put $1 billion+ of capital to work.
100%. Yeah, everybody would want that in their career, and the fact that you've already had that is quite amazing, and that number is going to continue to grow.
Only get bigger, yeah,
over time. That'd be amazing. This one's kind of a trick question for you, Frank. Startup mentality or corporate strategy? What do you think is more important for growth?
Whoa. I will punt at it and say it depends on the stage of your business. That transitional period is really hard for companies. And I think the most important part is having the self-awareness to know when you need to start moving from one to the other. And then, usually from startup to corporate, but then also sometimes when you maybe need to move back to the startup mentality.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll accept your punt on that one. How do you personally stay ahead of various market changes and trends in the industry, Frank?
I spend a lot of time just talking with people. I do a lot of meetings with different innovators, with corporate leaders, with doctors, and usually I just ask them, what's going on in your world? I love the old, who was it that said it? The guy who wrote How to Influence People and Win Friends. He had the idea of to be interesting, you have to be interested.
Yes.
And that has served me well for 20 years.
Love that. So great. What's the best podcast episode or book on leadership that you've consumed recently?
Oh, I am a huge Seth Godin fan. And I also love that he trained as a biomedical engineer originally. So very, connected into this kind of world. And he did one, it was actually an old episode, but I hadn't heard it before. He did one on libraries and on why they existed the way they do and how they're evolving. It was not about leadership, but it was about leadership and this idea of making knowledge available is a powerful way to influence culture, to drive positive change, and to advance your business.
I'll have to check that one out. Certainly no shortage of talent with that guy, is there? Well, this has been really fun, Frank. Thanks for doing this with me today. How can listeners get in touch with you?
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Best way to find me is on LinkedIn. You can look me up. Or email is always easy. First initial, last name at medicalalley.org will get you any of our staff. Please do reach out anytime if Medical Alley can be of service.
Love that. Thank you, Frank. Well, as always, so many great insights today. If you're feeling inspired, do us a favor and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for being part of the Health Marketing Collective, where strong leadership meets marketing excellence, because the future of healthcare depends on it. We'll see you next time.